Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Nopum, and as a licensed plumber, today what I'll be going over is kitchen sink clogs caused by garbage disposals or other things. Have you ever had this happen to your house? You have 2 basins full of water, usually after Grandma's great Thanksgiving meal. If you do, the first step's real easy, and a lot of times this will get you going. All you need to do is plug off the non-disposal side. Then turn the switch on your disposal, and in some cases, the centrifugal action of that disposal pumping the water downstream will blow the clog free. Basically, it's acting as a sewer jetter for free. You won't have to call Roto-Rooter and spend thousands of dollars on this little trick. All right, this is your garbage disposal. Right underneath the sink is attached with a disposal flange up here. This is your dishwasher hose that discharges into the garbage disposal. And it has a discharge pipe going to downstream to your sewer. And this is another example of filling the disposal up to flush downstream any small clogs that you may or may not have. Now, if doing that did not work, or your disposal is no longer working, sometimes with the wall switch, the receptacle switch on, you may hear a small hum. That's the motor being seized up. Stop doing that immediately. What you're going to need to do is crawl underneath your sink and look for this red reset button right here. If you push it in and it clicks, that means that your disposal was in a trip status. And much like a circuit breaker in your utility panel, this reset button is an overcurrent protection device. When that motor is seized, it draws an enormous amount of current. That current, in turn, trips that switch. If that switch wasn't there, it would eventually trip the switch in your utility panel. But if you do find that tripped, stop before you go any further. Think. There was a reason why that switch tripped. So do a small root cause analysis to determine why this tripped. Here you go. This is usually the cause. A lot of times people shove, you know how Grandma cooks spaghetti for the army, right? Okay. She might have poured 4 or 5 portions of that, lemon peels. I've seen screws, coins, all kinds of stuff down in there. So take a flashlight, peek down in there, and make sure that nothing obvious is obstructing that motor from turning. When you do, fish it out. Don't be a germaphobe. Stick your hand down in there, pull it out, and then after that, ensure that that motor shaft is free by using this right here. This right here is called a disposal wrench, and it'll typically come with your disposal when you buy it from wherever you're going to get your disposal from. What this wrench does is it goes in the center shaft right here. And if your motor's seized up, an easy trick to unseize it is just wiggle it back and forth until it comes loose, then refish your hand down in there, pull it out while it's loose, and then make sure you can do this. When you can do this, you probably can go over, flip the switch, and it should fire right up. Now, another tip is to, if it fires up fine, use the stopper, fill up the basin full of cold water, because cold water going across the disposal motor is what keeps it cooled down. So don't ever use hot water when you're using the disposal. It'll shorten the life and you'll be buying a new one. So fill up the water and then fire the disposal and let it run the whole basin full of water down. What that does is it cleans it out. And that was the location of the wrench, right here. We just went over that example. All right. Sometimes this happens. Upon being seized, these disposals are made out of plastic. Sometimes they develop a crack when that motor gets instantly jarred shut or stops. And it'll develop a crack along the side usually, and you'll get the water pouring out down here. This is obviously no bueno. If this happens, or you smell something burning, what that burning smell is the windings inside of the motor. Again, no bueno. But don't fear, don't fret. I am here to play Virgil to your Dante. I'm going to get you through this. Before you start anything, especially if you have meddling kids, I'm going to need you to go to your service panel, find the breaker that's labeled disposal, and flip the switch. That's right, I got Mike Tyson up there with the lisp. Bad joke, sorry. But make sure you do that, because getting shocked is not fun. All right, what's behind the panel? After you shut off the utility panel, switch to the disposal, what you're going to do is you're going to come back and find there's a little panel underneath the disposal, and it's secured with one screw. After you take that panel off, you will find in there the wiring and the wire nuts that attach it. These nuts just screw on. You can take the two wires and just screw them right on, and it unscrews righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. If you can remember that, you can work with wire nuts. Another thing you're going to take apart upon determining that your disposal is bad are these two nuts on either side of this pipe. They're real easy. It takes, I think, a 3/8 driver. 1, 2, this whole piece pops off, and then you're ready to take the disposal down. This is the disposal flange pictured on the bottom side of the sink. And I've already pre-attached it here, but there are 3 little tabs that go around here to where it attaches to the top part. Now, if you use your big pair of channel locks, what you can do is you can grab one of the non-movable pieces. That's the one that's attached, that's the part that's attached to the bottom of the sink, and the movable, which is the part that's attached to the disposal. And in a squeezing motion, like this right here, you can undo it. It'll pop right off. Make sure you have one hand underneath it so you don't pop a hole in the bottom of your cabinet. Don't want that. So now this drops right off. All right. Moving right along. When you go to reinstall, this disposal will come with a brand new disposal flange. It is imperative that you use plumber's putty around the underside of that seal, or the rim of that metal. If you don't, you're going to get a leak. So use it. All it is like Play-Doh. You roll it up into a nice little snake about this long, and you wrap it around before you drop that piece through. Don't forget the putty. Before installing, make sure that if you are using, if you see on the older one, if you saw a corrugated hose running into the side of this with a hose clamp, on new disposals, it's plugged off on the inside because some people don't use a dishwasher. If that's the case, and you are using a dishwasher, you're going to need to stick a screwdriver into that discharge hole, hit it a couple times with the hammer, the plug will pop right out. Remember to fish your hand down in here and get that plug out, because it'll be jumping around in there and it's easier to do it before you stick it in the sink. All right, aligning and tightening the disposal. Basically, just the reversal of installation. This is already attached to the bottom of your sink. You've done that. You've remembered to put the plumber's putty in, right? All right, there are 3 little tabs. See the hook here, and one over here. When you put this up, make sure you're not canted at an angle. Make sure it's straight up into the bottom of this flange. And you can hand do it. You just barely get them caught with the hand tie. It'll hold. You're going to go back to your big set of channel locks, open up nice and wide, and now you're going to grab a couple pins to make the movable side tighten up and snap on. Now, since it only closes like that, we have much further to go. Simple fix. Just close them off a little bit more. Go back over here and keep on tightening. Now, there's a small little nub that will kind of give you some tactile feedback. When you feel it bump over the hub, you're locked in place. You're good to go. I find so many of these disposals where someone hasn't done that. So you hear that? Hear that? That was it. Good to go. You must remember to put all the hoses back, because if you forget that corrugated hose, oh, you'll remember it when that dishwasher starts discharging. Yeah, you're gonna remember it when you're vacuuming up all that water off your nice hardwood floors and things start buckling a month later. And here you go. With all this money that you're saving from this new knowledge, now Granny is not gonna have to call out someone like me after that big Thanksgiving meal. And what does that correlate to? That correlates to more money in her pocket. And now she doesn't have to spend all her Medicare money buying you presents for Christmas. Thanks. My name is Joseph Nopum, and that was how you take care of a garbage disposal.